What's up, friends? It is Jeff Heath coming at you today with another YouTube video, and today we're talking about the IronGlass Cine modded Russian lenses. Hey friends, thanks so much for watching. My name is Jeff Heath. Would love if you hit that subscribe button and hit that little ding-a-ling notification bell to let you know when a new video drops. Okay, today we are talking about the IronGlass Rehoused Russian lenses for cinema. A few years ago, I started to fall in love with old vintage glass because of the look and feel that they gave in regards to the videos that I was creating. A lot of times I was doing a lot of post-production work to make my videos look older or have a little bit of that kind of old-timey feel in regards to how they were shot. So adding some grain, adding a little softness on the edges, until a friend introduced me to the world of vintage glass. Once I started taking a deep dive into vintage glass, I discovered a company out of the Ukraine called IronGlass. What they do is they take old Russian lenses and they rehouse them or remake them or clean them up in order to resell them for people to use them in film and photo. Over the last few years, what they've been starting to do is take these lenses and actually rehouse them into new cases and new housings in order to make them more practical and more useful for modern day use, while still keeping that vintage look and feel in regards to the image that they're creating. So, past summer, I ordered them. It took a while for them to get to me. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed at how long it took for them to get to me. They said a usually 3-month turnaround. It took almost 5 months for me to get mine, but they are custom making every single set of lenses that they send to clients. So they don't start making them until someone has ordered them. At least that's what I understand. And I gotta say, it was worth the wait. A lot of times when you're seeing people rehousing or remaking lenses, you're seeing a lot of 3D printed parts, you're seeing a lot of plastic, you're seeing a lot of kind of aftermarket grossness that just kind of makes a photo lens usable with gears or apertures or declicking the lens. These guys take it to the next level. Every bit of this lens is custom made, metal, machined perfectness. Everything from the markings to the gears to the housing. You can tell they put a lot of love and a lot of care into what they do to make these lenses great. They have a 92mm front, consistent throughout all their lenses. The sizes of the lenses are a little bit different in regards to how long they are, but they're within a few millimeters of each one. As well, they're all under 2 pounds in weight. When you're flying it on a stabilizer or a gimbal, it's great to have a lens that's a little bit lighter and a little bit more nimble in regards to that, but still has all the functions of a cinema lens. All the markings are super accurate, so when it says the minimum focal distance is 2.5 feet, it is 2.5 feet or 1.7 feet. So they've done a real good job of making sure that you know where your min and max focal distance is. All the machine parts on these lenses are great. Nothing feels loose, nothing feels too tight. They've machined everything the right way in order to fit all together properly. I really love the way they feel in my hand. I love the way they feel on the camera. I've used it with my Tilta Nucleus, and it has no problem turning the gears both on the aperture as well as the focus. I went with the 4-lens set, which comes with a 28, a 37, a 58, and an 85. So the 28 is the Mir 1V, the 37 is the Mir 10A, the 58 is the Helios 442, and the 85 is the Jupiter series lens. All these lenses have their own unique characteristics in regards to them. Through all these tests that I've ran, I found they're fairly consistent in regards to the things that are most important. The settings I used to keep consistency throughout all of my tests: I'm shooting on my Red Dragon X with a white balance of 5,000 Kelvin, a shutter of 180 degrees, and an ISO of 800. And that was consistent throughout my indoor and outdoor shooting because I wanted everything to be the same. So there's no difference between where I'm shooting inside and outside. 5,000 I find is a pretty good mid-range for me in regards to inside and outside, particularly with the lighting that I use inside, which is daylight balanced. So in this video, what I recommend is I've uploaded it in 4K. If you want to look at the difference between the lenses, it'd be great if you can click that little thing on the side that gives you your resolution and choose 4K so you can kind of see what I'm talking about, and you can look for yourself at what the different lens characteristics are, how they flare, and the different bokehs and all those kinds of things. So if you can watch this movie at 4K, I would recommend you do that. First test I ran was what the lenses look like inside when I'm lighting. It's a very similar setup to what I have here, so let's have a look at that. As you can see from the 28, the 37, the 58, and the 85, the color consistency seems pretty similar to me in all of the lenses. I shot all of these tests wide open. Each lens is a little different wide open. Some are f2, some are f3.5. I try to keep the exposure the same using an ND filter. As you can see, I don't notice a huge difference between lens to lens. Some of you might have a keener eye than I do, but for me, if I was shooting with all these lenses throughout the day, I wouldn't have a hard time color correcting or matching the lenses because they all seem very similar to me. Then I ran a test of flares indoors. So I just took my little headlamp here and I started just kind of running the light all through the different lenses, all through the different corners. And I found that the flares are very similar on all of them inside as well. Kind of a bluey edges on them to a little bit of a warmer center of the flare. But it all seems very consistent to me on the inside when just using the similar light on all of these lenses. So that's also great for me. I then took these lenses outside on a nice sunny day and I started running flare tests with them outside as well. Here's where I noticed a little bit of difference. The 28mm had a little bit of a warmer flare outside compared to the other ones, which was a more bluey, less contrasty flare. I'm not sure if this is kind of a one-off thing, but the one test I ran here, it just seems to be a little bit warmer than the other three lenses, but it's not a big deal because the color consistency between the image itself seemed the same to me as well. If you look at these next few images, we're doing a little bit of bokeh test where I was at the same distance away from my subject for each one. The bokehs are all different because of the different focal lengths, but it's super fun to see, especially the 58 and the 85, which people love, especially the Helios 422, which is the 58, has a little bit of a swirly bokeh in the background, which is super nice. That's the reason I fell in love with the Helios and the Russian lenses in the first place, is because of that swirly bokeh. If you look at these tests outside in the rain, outside on the street with these cars passing by, you'll notice some of the bokehs being a little bit more oval and some being a little bit more round. So if you just look at the comparison between these four, a little bit oval and a little bit around between some of the mid-range lenses. But again, it's not totally a big deal. These are shot wide open outside. I try to keep the exposure about the same for each one. But again, the color consistency seems the same to me. The bokehs are a little bit different in regards to the shape of the lights, but it's not totally a big deal and it's not something most people are going to notice. But again, it kind of gives that little bit of a look of what some people really like in regards to these vintage lenses. lens breathing in all these lenses, I would say, is consistent with rehousing a photo lens. So a cine lens typically will have less lens breathing than a photo lens. These ones are photo lenses that have been now modded to become cinema lenses. So there is a little bit of lens breathing that you'll notice, but to me it looks more like you're changing focus than it does like you're doing a zoom, which is most people appreciate that you're not having that kind of zoom parallax look. It feels more natural. It feels more like a focus change than it does a zoom on some other photo lenses when you're kind of doing that rack focus. I did a quick test to see how these lenses compare to another set of lenses that I own, which is the Canon L series lenses, which are photo lenses as well, but people typically use them almost all the time for video as well. I found that the Canon lenses were a little bit more saturated in their colors, so they were a little bit more contrasty and the colors popped a little bit more on the L series lens versus the IronGlass lenses. Again, this is pretty typical. With an older lens, it's going to be less contrasty and less saturation, which is again a look that I like and I like going for, but a lot of people might be wondering why their images might look a little bit flatter than they're used to. It's because of the lenses. The L series were a little bit more contrasty, a little more poppy, but again, it's super you're really looking at the colors to try to figure out what is what, but if someone's actually looking for that, they will notice a difference in regards to the saturation and the contrast between the lenses. Another thing people want to know is about the sharpness of these lenses. Again, these are 50-year-old plus lenses, so they're not going to be as sharp as modern day lenses. And again, that's part of the appeal of these lenses, is they have a little bit of character to them. They're going to be a little bit softer on the edges, particularly when you're coming in on a close-up on someone and you're using a tighter lens. You're going to notice a little bit of softness on the edges, especially at wide open. They're going to be a little bit softer than you might be typically used to, but again, that's part of the appeal of these lenses. IronGlass has a few different options for you when you're buying their lenses. You can get a fully cine modded lenses like I got, which is the new rehoused with all the gears and the new metal parts and all that different stuff. But they also sell the lenses on their own in the original housings, but then they put gears on the outside, which they machine to fit on the original housings of lenses. So that's a little bit of a cheaper option. As well, they have different mount options. They have an EF and a PL mount option when you're buying these lenses. I chose the EF because I run DSLR cameras, which are all Canon, and the EF mount, I wanted these lenses to be used on both my Red as well as my DSLR cameras, so I chose the EF mount. They are not interchangeable, so when you pick a PL or you pick the EF, you're stuck with it. There's no swapping the backs like some other lenses that you can do nowadays. So when you make that decision, make sure that's the right one for you. If you're going to be renting out these lenses, I would suggest doing a PL mount because that leaves it open for people who are filming with Arri or other cameras with interchangeable mount options. I chose the PL because these are going to kind of be my daily driver lenses. They also have a kind of gimmicky option, but some people really like it, where you can do an anamorphic look. So they're essentially putting a little bit of an oval shape inside the lens to kind of give you that oval bokeh that you're used to for an anamorphic lens, as well as a little, it's like almost like a little string in the middle to kind of give you that anamorphic flare look with those horizontal lines. They have different colors from like a bluey purple to an orange to just a straight black, kind of using the regular flares of the lens. So if you're into that if you want the anamorphic look without spending the money on an anamorphic lens, they do have that mod, which you can do when you buy the lenses. But again, if you put that mod in, you're stuck with it. You can't take that mod out. So once again, make that choice ahead of time if that's important to you to have the anamorphic look. Make sure you choose that, knowing that you can't unchoose that afterwards. Well, if you're noticing the footage looks a little bit different, it's now because I'm recording the rest of this on my Red rather than my 1DX, because as I was transferring footage, my dog moved, I tripped, he moved, something happened, the tripod fell over, 1DX fell over, snapped open the door, broke a 16-35, snapped that right off the body. 1DX won't turn on anymore, so I'm stuck using the old Red. I know, life is tough. So, fingers crossed for insurance. continuing on, the last thing I wanted to cover was the one thing I don't like about the lenses, and that is the way that it focuses. What I mean is not how it focuses in regards to like, is it difficult to pull focus? It's not. It's that the whole lens actually moves to get focus. And what that does is it poses a problem when you're using a matte box, because that will slide in and out of your matte box. So when you have it on your matte box, this will actually move back and forth, causing a gap between your matte box and the filter ring that you're using on the end to get inside the matte box. If you have one of the clip-on matte boxes to the end of your lens, then you're totally set, not gonna be an issue. It's when your matte box is attached to rails that this might cause a little bit of a problem. You might have to put one of those socks on the end in order to keep light out, because as soon as there's a little bit of light leaks, you're going to have reflections off of glass that you might use as filtration on the inside, whether it's an ND or a polarizer or whatever that might be inside the matte box. That's my one complaint. I understand why they did it, because to have elements moving inside the housing is more parts and makes things more expensive, and to keep the price down on these lenses, you got to have concessions. So that's what they did, I'm sure, but it's a little bit annoying. Nothing you can't work around. If you just put a little sock on the end or figure out how to push and pull your lens with your matte box and the focuses that you're going to use, then it's not going to be a big deal. Whew, that was a long video. Thank you so much for sticking with me through that. I hope that this was informative and that you got all the information that you needed to know about these lenses. If I didn't cover something, be sure to drop a comment down below and I'll get back to you through the comment section. Once again, my name is Jeff Heath. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and I'll catch you next time.